It's time for the Sonic Adventure 2 Battle Review for the Gamecube. Just like its predecessor, Sonic Adventure DX, Battle is a port from the original Sonic Adventure 2 for the Dreamcast. And just like DX, Battle includes a few new additions that the original lacked. There are 2 story modes you can play, with 3 characters in each mode to play as. The Hero story consists of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. The Dark story consists of Robotnik, which is actually the very first time you get to play as him in a main Sonic game, Rouge the Bat, and Shadow the Hedgehog. In the Hero story, Sonic is falsely being chased by the military for actions he didn't cause. Tails helps Sonic investigate what's happening, and Knuckles, once again, is trying to find the missing pieces of the Master Emerald. In the Dark story, Robotnik blasts his way into a military base in search of a top-secret military weapon his grandfather worked on. When he finds it, the weapon turns out to be Shadow, who he says he will help Robotnik with anything he wants. Rouge is a hungry jewel hunter who is after the pieces of the Master Emerald as well as Knuckles. Each character, I guess you could say, has a parallel character for the type of level that character plays. In other words, Sonic and Shadow's levels consist of them speeding through a stage and getting to the goal. These are my favorite levels because of the sense of speed, and they're just overall fun. Tails and Robotnik's levels are similar to Sonic's and Shadow's, only they're much slower paced, and both of them have their own personal walking tank type thing. These are my least favorite levels because of the lack of speed, but they can be pretty fun because of the amount of enemies you get to blow up. Knuckles and Rouge's levels are, just like I said a few moments ago, searching for the missing pieces of the Master Emerald. I actually really like these levels. I like them more than Tails and Robotnik's for some reason. I guess I just like treasure hunting. Just like in SA1, you will find items for each character which will give them new abilities and upgrades. Oh yeah, I have to say, I love the way they changed up how Sonic performs his light speed dash. Instead of charging up energy like you do in SA1, all you have to do is get right next to a ring and press B. Same goes for Shadow too. This keeps the sense of speed in each level, which I really appreciate. The graphics are great. Now as far as detail goes, I really couldn't find any difference between Battle and DX. But as far as the animation and character models go, you can really see a big difference. They both look a lot better than DX's, and I know this might not be such a big deal to some of you, and that's okay. But the model for Sonic in this game is my favorite model of him in any 3D game, especially comparing him to his DX model. I don't really know what it is, but he looks a bit thinner, his spikes look sharper, I think his color is a deeper blue, and I really like the way his shoes look. And another thing I really liked was that when you were a speed character and would press A right after B, you would do this. And again, I know these might not be such big issues for some of you, which is fine, but sometimes it's the little things in a game which can really make playing it more enjoyable. The controls are virtually perfect, just like they were in DX. The only problems I found with the controls were with Tails and Robotnik stages. They could be a bit frustrating sometimes when you were trying to lock onto enemies, but since this happened very infrequently, it's not really a big deal. Every time you complete a level, you are graded from A to E on how well you did. Your grade is determined by how many points you received, which is determined by defeated enemies, the amount of rings you had at the end of the level, and how long it took you to complete the level. The boss fights were fun, and I thought they were a bit more challenging than DX's boss fights, but even so, I thought they were still too easy. Now even though the boss fights were too easy, some of the levels for each character can be difficult, which I like, coming from DX where basically all the levels were too easy. When you complete a level, you can go back to that level to play it again, or you can play the other missions associated with that level. And since there are 5 missions per level, there is a lot of replayability. And to add to the challenge and fun, it can be very difficult to complete all missions with all A rankings. As some of you may know, I love a good challenge, and that's exactly what I got when trying to get all A rankings on all the missions. Just like in SA1, they've added in the Chao Garden where you can raise little creatures called Chao. I didn't really care for SA1's Chao Gardens, but I sure did in this game. It is very addicting. When you raise a Chao stats by giving it little animals or chaos drives, which are little items you obtain by defeating enemies, you can enter them in Chao races and Chao karate tournaments, which I really like. Like in the original Sonic Adventure 2, there's a 2-player mode where you can play against another friend. You can race each other to the end of a stage with Sonic and Shadow, battle each other with your walking tank with Tails and Robotnik, or trying to find missing pieces of the Master Emerald first with Knuckles and Rouge. Now there are other characters you can play as, but I won't spoil them. There's also Kart Racing, which can be fun, but can also be kind of frustrating due to the steering mechanics. I really hope that Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing will not be like the kart racing in this game. Now I'm sure it won't, but I just had to say that. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is an excellent game. Great graphics, virtually perfect controls, great story, awesome music tracks, great voice acting, very fun fast-paced, interesting, challenging level designs, a huge amount of replayability, and some very fun extras. The only downsides I found were 1, the game is a little too short. Even though there is a great amount of replayability, I would have liked it if there were at least a couple more levels for each character. 2, the boss fights were a bit too easy, and 3, even though they were pretty uncommon, there were some glitches which were annoying. But overall, this is such a fantastic game. This is my favorite 3D Sonic game up to date, and I believe it is one of the best Sonic games out there. And now for the score. I was going to give it this 1 score, which was based on the overall fun factor of the game, but because there is so much replayability and very fun extras, I've bumped the score up from the original. So therefore, this game gets a 4.75 out of 5 with the title of Epic. Yes!
was cool!